Have you ever wondered how an AI actually learns the specific ins and outs of your company? Well, today we are diving into a brand new explainer all about the Open Knowledge Format and Foundation Guide. We're going to untangle the really fascinating evolution of open data into what is basically the new lingua franca of artificial intelligence. If you've been paying any attention to the AI space recently, you've probably noticed a massive shift in how we think about feeding information to these autonomous agents. So we're going to unpack exactly what Google's new open knowledge format is, where it came from, and why it might literally replace your company's internal wiki.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap. We'll be decoding the alphabet soup, looking at OKFN's open data roots, addressing the AI context crisis, and exploring OKF's Markdown solution. And finally, we'll compare it to traditional approaches and look at what a frictionless future really means. Section 1. Decoding the alphabet soup, separating OKF, OKFN, and OKRs. Right out of the gate, we absolutely have to clear up these acronyms because honestly, they confuse even seasoned tech pros. It's incredibly easy to mix these three up. So, OKF, that is Google's brand new 2026 AI Data Interoperability Specification. OKFN, on the other hand, is the Global Open Data Nonprofit Advocacy Network, and they've been around since 2004. And OKRs? Well, that's just the classic 1970s Intel business framework for objectives and key results. But for our purposes today, we're really focusing on how the nonprofit work of the OKFN actually paved the way for Google's new OKF tech standard. Moving right along to Section 2. OKFN, pioneering open data and the roots of frictionless knowledge. Now that our definitions are sorted out, let's see how today's AI formats actually build upon a really rich history of open source advocacy. Google didn't just invent OKFN out of thin air in 2026. The Open Knowledge Foundation was actually founded way back in 2004 by Rufus Pollock to promote free, reusable access to information. Fast forward to 2016, and Google starts funding OKFN's Frictionless Data Project. And over the next decade, that partnership expanded big time. They built tools and parsing libraries in languages like Go, R, Java, and PHP, all to make data incredibly easy to share. It's that exact decade of collaboration culminating in these mature platforms highlighted at the 2025 Frictionless Summit that really set the philosophical and technical foundation for Google Cloud to announce the Open Knowledge Format in 2026. So the absolutely crucial point here is this concept of frictionless data. OKFN kicked this project off to completely remove the friction from working with data by using these structured, lightweight metadata wrappers called data packages. Basically, they wanted to make information universally readable without all that massive, heavy overhead. And this exact philosophy, keeping things lightweight, completely open, and universally readable, is the exact DNA that modern AI development so desperately needs today. Which brings us to Section 3, the AI agent context crisis. Why foundation models are starving for context. Here's the reality. Foundation models are incredibly smart, but they are completely starved for context. The real villain here, fragmentation. Crucial organizational knowledge just sits in these isolated, incompatible silos. We're talking metadata catalogs acting like locked filing cabinets hidden behind proprietary vendor APIs, or internal wikis totally locked behind login walls. Crucial context is just buried deep down in code comments or random chat logs. If an AI agent tries to figure out how to calculate a simple metric, like, say, weekly active users, it is forced to assemble answers from this disastrous maze of scattered systems. It's a mess. But there is a silver lining, and it's captured perfectly by this famous insight from AI researcher Andrej Karpathy regarding what he calls LLM wikis. He points out that large language models, LLMs, are actually the perfect tool for maintaining living, breathing knowledge bases. Humans get tired of all that tedious bookkeeping, right? But LLMs don't get bored. They don't forget to update a cross-reference, and they can touch 15 files in a single pass without breaking a sweat. We just need to give them a unified format to read and write in. Which naturally leads us to a massive industry-wide question. How exactly do we deliver all of this fragmented organizational context to autonomous AI agents in a universally readable, totally frictionless way? And crucially, how do we do it without falling right into the trap of vendor lock-in, where all our data is held hostage by a single proprietary platform? And that brings us to the answer in Section 4, OKF, the Markdown solution. Or, as some like to call it, the USB-C cable of AI knowledge. Let's dive right into the solution Google Cloud announced. The Open Knowledge Format, or OKF, operates on this beautifully simple metaphor. An OKF concept document is basically a single tree of knowledge. Maybe it's a single API endpoint or a specific database table. An OKF bundle, on the other hand, is the entire forest. It's a completely self-contained directory of those markdown files. When you actually break down one of these OKF concept files, it is elegantly simple. It requires just two basic steps. First up, you have a thin layer of YAML front matter at the very top of the file, which is really just a simple human-readable configuration block. And get this, it only requires a single mandatory field, which is type. That's it. Second is just a standard plain text markdown body. This body can contain completely free-form text, links to other files, schemas, citations, you name it. Any standard text editor can open it, any human can read it, and any AI can easily parse it. Now, to keep these bundles highly organized, OKF reserves specific file names to help AI agents navigate. For instance, index.md acts as a directory index. This lets an agent quickly review what resources are available in a folder before it decides to read them, a really smart concept called progressive disclosure. Then you have log.md, which gives you a chronological update history. Let me tell you, this is absolutely massive for compliance in regulated industries, because suddenly the AI agent or a human auditor can instantly see an exact audit trail of changes right there in the folder. What I really love about this insight from the Google Cloud Data Cloud team is how it just hammers home the sheer simplicity of this format. They explicitly point out that it's just Markdown, just files, and just YAML front matter. There are no crazy complex compression schemes, no proprietary software development kits, no expensive databases required. It renders natively on GitHub, it ships as a standard tarball, and it mounts on literally any file system. Section 5, OKF versus traditional AI approaches. Why plain text actually beats mathematical chunks. Let's compare this to the really complex systems developers have been using over the last few years. There is a very stark contrast between OKF and traditional vector RAG. RAG is a method that basically chops your documents up into mathematical chunks to feed to the AI, which unfortunately often distorts the relationships based on proximity in vector space and totally loses critical context. OKF takes a totally different path. It keeps curated concepts whole as distinct markdown files. Instead of relying on math to just guess how concepts relate, OKF preserves the exact relationships through standard markdown crosslinks. Oh, and instead of requiring specialized, super expensive vector databases and constant rebuilds, OKF just sits right there on your file system or in a standard Git repository. If we compare OKF to standard enterprise tools like Notion, internal wikis, or big enterprise metadata catalogs, OKF wins hands down on portability. If your knowledge is trapped in a proprietary database, an AI agent usually has to jump through massive hoops with custom APIs and vendor SDKs just to read a single sentence. With OKF, agents can read the text directly. No authentication keys, no API rate limits getting in the way. It is just direct, untranslated access to your knowledge. Let's move right into our final section, Section 6, a frictionless open future focusing on producer and consumer independence. Let's explore what a standardized, frictionless ecosystem actually looks like in practice. The true power of OKF really lies in three core design principles. First off, it's minimally opinionated. It doesn't force some strict taxonomy or structure on your content. It just provides a basic framework to ensure systems can talk to each other. Second is producer and consumer independence. And honestly, this is huge. A human can write a markdown file that an AI agent later reads, or a database pipeline can automatically generate a file that a human visualizes later. It goes both ways. And finally, it's a format, not a platform. It's not tied to Google Cloud or OpenAI or any specific database provider. The format acts as this universal contract, meaning you can easily swap out the tools that create or consume the knowledge whenever you want. And to prove this isn't just a bunch of theory, Google immediately released open source reference tools right alongside the spec. They built a BigQuery enrichment agent that automatically crawls the database to write OKF files, pulling in schemas and enriching them with LLMs. They also released a really lightweight static HTML visualizer that can read any OKF bundle and turn it into this beautiful relationship graph right in your browser with absolutely no backend required. It's just a perfect demonstration of tools independently reading and writing this brand new standard. Which brings us to the ultimate crossroads for this explainer. As AI foundation models shift from being just reactive chatbots to becoming truly autonomous partners in our daily workflows, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Will your organization's knowledge remain locked away in incompatible, fragmented silos? Or are you prepared to evolve it into a frictionless, agent-ready, open graph? The tools are officially here and the format is completely open. I think it's time to start building.